and thank you for joining us for yet another episode of King Crush Thursday. This is where we come together to uplift and uphold and celebrate Black men because, frankly, very few people are doing it. And so we are doing it here, and I'm so excited that we get to talk with yet another amazing and successful Black man. So I should tell you that how we define success. We define success not in necessarily what someone does for a living, but for how they live and for who they are. And so with that, we have a broad spectrum, and just like every other walk of life, no two Black men are exactly the same. So we're super excited. I am Val Gay. I always forget to say that. I am Val Gay, and I'm excited to welcome today Mr. Barry Wilkins, who is an amazing man. He is currently a STEM educator in a Philadelphia public high school. He also was a banker, a longtime banker, and served in a really unique role where he was a connector between people who needed jobs and the city and the private sector with the goal of trying to eradicate poverty by helping people help themselves. And so, Barry, thank you so much and welcome to King Crush Thursday.
Thank you for having me. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. And, I share with you the 6 questions. They are the same 6 questions we ask every man. We are really, our goal is to create a repository of questions and answers. Sure. And the goal is one day, I hope that some young king can just perhaps stumble onto this and find all of these questions and all of these amazing men who are doing different things, who are answering these same questions. And perhaps they can find themselves in one of these answers, right? That young king may not know that he's a king. He may not have people around him who are positive, or he may be filled with a community of people who love him, of men who are showing him the way, and still he can find inspiration and guidance in these questions and answers. So again, welcome. So excited.
Thank you. I'll do my part.
Yes.
I found with a lot of the questions that you gave there, I never had a complete answer. Every time I thought, that's it. Then I think some more and some more and some more. So I think at this point, I've gone through every iteration at this point. Hopefully I can provide some guidance here.
Awesome. Excellent. All right, well, we're going to get started with our first question, which is, what does manhood mean to you?
Okay. All right. Not an easy question to answer by any stretch. For me, I begin to sort of answer that question by thinking about my identity and how I see myself in the world. And it may not be politically correct. I know when we talk about race is a social construct, and we we think that it's an imaginary thing, and it has no place in modern society. Well, I consider myself a Black American. And for me, that's a source of pride. And the manhood or the definition of manhood that I sort of land on is someone who has a very strong foundation in who they are, right? So I'm a Black man. I'm spiritually grounded. A man should be spiritually grounded and be centered by their faith, and let God sort of do a lot of the work for you. So manhood to me is partly about just kind of knowing who you are in the world, being spiritually grounded, and having a mission and having a purpose. And I think there's a laundry list of things that I could add on to that initial list, but those are the 3 I feel that are the most important. Having faith in God, knowing who you are, and having a purpose in life and living that purpose out with conviction.
That's awesome. Excellent. Thank you. So who and or what is important to you?
Oh, man. So again, another sort of like laundry list. I can go on and on. Without a doubt, my family is the center of my world. My wife, my 3 beautiful daughters, and my mother. Those are the people that, make me go. When I think about my best life, hopefully they're in it. They're living their best lives. So the center of my world is is my wife, Kathy, and my 3 daughters, Parker, Santana, Finley, and of course, my mother, Anise Wilkins. I'm definitely a mama's boy, so.
That's great. Yeah. So how do you want us to see you?
Oh, man. That's an interesting question. When I say us, right, I'll break it out into, some buckets. I would like for folks that identify as Black or part of the African diaspora to, if nothing else, see me as an asset and a net positive for our community. Someone who is, strong in character, believes in integrity, believes in doing the right thing. We're not perfect. None of us are, but striving for that perfection. See me as someone who is authentic. I am, one thing I don't do well is lie and cheat and try to be something that I'm not. And I would hope that when people interact with me, they see me as someone that they can be their authentic self in front of as well. And then also someone who has like a vision, like not so much a visionary, but the way that I see the world is more from an opportunistic sort of lens. Like, here's what we can do, not so much what we can't do, but here's what we can do. And let's try to get there. No matter, what our differences are, I always try to find sort of the through line. And, we could be far apart on many things, but let's find some common ground and build from there and see where that takes us. So someone who has vision, who cares for others, character, and someone who will die for doing the things that are right in the world. Yeah.
Wow, that's a powerful answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what is your epic dream?
Another one that could, if I had like a genie, I would be like, I need an infinite number of wishes to come true. But I would say the one or two things that I think would be epic would be sort of that pie in the sky notion. Every Black person who's sort of had these sort of conversations about society and the world and wouldn't it be nice, we always get to that point where we're like, man, if Black people would just come together as one, right? If the tribe could just reconnect, if we could look across the entire African diaspora, wherever we are, and feel like that's my brother. And I'm going to treat that person like I would treat my brother, my father, my sister, my daughter, invest in that person, love that person, accept them for their pluses and their minuses, and try to uplift each other. I think not only would our community be better off, but the world would be a much better place. And, to really sort of bring full circle the story of the enslaved African who has been disconnected from their home, African Americans here and throughout the Caribbean and South America, and wherever we are, having a place to look back, like not looking at Africa as being some dark continent that has the boogeyman there, but like that's our home. And we can always go back and we can always recharge our battery. And if we're not welcome anywhere else in the world, that's the place where we can go and we should go and connect and build and have sort of this pipeline, this exchange of knowledge and resources. That would be my pie in the sky. Just to the people who identify as descendants of enslaved Africans or in colonized parts of the world that want to go back and say, hey, Africa is my home. I wish we could connect in a real and meaningful way. Yeah.
Wow, that's a powerful answer.
I told you I was thinking about it. I was like, no, maybe that.
that was
and so, sorry, there's like a fire truck.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah.
Fire.
We're in the city, so there you go.
I think for me, it's funny, like the times that we're in right now, I don't feel like Black people have a safe haven. Like we have a safe haven that we create literally from scratch as our friends. We patch together these networks that create some sense of normalcy. But wouldn't it be nice if you could say, you know what, they tripping over here in America. I'm going back to Accra, get a beer, just kind of go fishing, kick it with my brothers and sisters back home. And just because it's lunacy. It's like the lunacy that's happening here, we don't get a respite from. We just when I think this is the most frustrating part about the brother that was just killed recently is it's like, again, like just when you think, really, you don't really think that it's over. It's like, just when you kind of get settled, they rattle the cage again. And no level of response is good enough. If you don't do anything, you can't just sit there and do nothing. If you respond in any way, it's like, that's too outrageous. So for me, I think in moments like this, crisis moments like this, where there's a worldwide pandemic and we find ourselves, strangers in our own land, it'd be nice to be able to go to a place where race didn't matter. And it's literally about the community surviving. We take all our little bit of resources and we survive together. We live and love together. And we put all those various identities to bed and just survive this global pandemic that we're supposedly going through. So when you asked me that question, I was just like, man, Africa, I bounced. Man, listen, if I could uproot myself and Zoom if I could virtually teach from I don't know, somewhere in Africa, I would attempt to do that right now. This whole thing blows over.
Right, just until it blows over. Just until it blows over.
Then I'll come back. Yeah, I'll come back. All right. Gotta get my cheese steak.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah. So, Barry, who are you?
I think who I am is someone who sort of believes that God wants what's best for me, has a plan for me, and has given me, imbued me with all the tools that I need to be great. And I am on a constant journey to realize my full potential. So I'm someone who is constantly evolving. And hopefully I'm getting better along the way. I can tell you I'm from Philly and, I'm the son of some folks from the South and all of that. But who I am at the end of the day is what God made me. And the society that I am in is the pressure is trying to mold me into something. And my own sense of who I am is trying desperately to craft something else. So I am a work in progress. And I'm still sort of chiseling away, trying to reveal all the greatness that God gave me.
I'm telling you, these answers are amazing. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Yep. Awesome. So, is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't, or that you wished I had asked you?
Oh man, maybe one or two things. The future, what does the future look like? Or what can it be? Maybe that would be a question I would want to share. And then I always ask the question what scares you? But I think I don't want to go down that route today because it's chaos. So what makes me really excited? I'll probably ask that. I would love to talk about that. Okay,
so let's go with that. So Barry, what makes you excited?
My new career in teaching. It makes me feel whole in a way. As you mentioned earlier, I spent the bulk of my professional career in financial services. And I say financial services because I've been everything from the file room clerk, the bank teller, the call center rep, all the way up to a vice president in wealth management and investment banking. So I've run, my experience in banking has run the spectrum, but never, not once during that journey did I ever really feel at home or at peace. Never once did I feel like this is my true and authentic self. Never once did I feel like this is a space that really can see the nuance in who I am and appreciate that. Never once did I feel like, my identity was an asset. Having, and God has a plan, because I didn't have this in my playbook, but, when I decided to make the move into education, and I'm a list person, I'm a checklist person, okay, the must-haves, can't do without, like whatever. So I have a checklist, and I did my checklist, and everything pointed to education. It was like, I want to be in a space where I can work on really, really, really difficult problems that matter at the human level. I want to work on small teams that are just kind of like scratching and clawing, trying to do the impossible. I want to work with the most at-risk people. I want to feel like my work it matters. Not, I just help make somebody else a little bit richer today, or I save somebody a few more coins, but no, I walked this kid off the ledge. He is now, or she is now, because our lives intersected at this moment in time, maybe it was enough of a relationship to get them on a path where they're living their best life. So for me, like having the opportunity to do that in education, where we know the educational system, just like other systems, has, inequities baked into it. And there's a shortage of us raising our children. I mean, education is probably one of the most intimate things you can do, or two people can do with each other, right? So we're sort of outsourcing that responsibility by and large to white folks. And I think we can do a better job. And so I know we can do a better job. And times like now reinforce and make me really happy that I made the move that I did when I did. Because my students, I treat them like my children. And, when when stuff is happening, I'm wondering is Mustafa okay? You know what I mean? Is Reggie okay? Is Naziria okay? What are they doing? Where are they at? Is someone keeping an eye on them and filling them, making them feel safe and loved? And so that being able to go that extra mile in my profession feels so right now. It just feels so very, very right. And so I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be in education, to be at the school that I'm at. I teach math at Strawberry Mansion High School, one of the more challenging schools in the city of Philadelphia, but there's a ton of humanity in the building, in the community. And I feel like it's therapeutic for me to be blessed with the opportunity to serve these young people, right? So for me, just being able to throw myself into the thick of things like education, which is a complete mess. No one has it right. It's a complete mess. But being in there, in the trenches, scratching and clawing with my students and their families and with the leadership at the school, I would not want to be in any other place right now. And now I'm in grad school. That's a challenge, but I like challenges. And UPenn is not taking it easy on me whatsoever. It's been, sleep is something I don't get to do much anymore of. It's like a luxury. So, but it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like this is me evolving into something else. And so that's the thing that I'm most excited about. And then the collateral opportunities that it affords me, like being able to be an educator to my children, take what I know and perhaps go out into the community and offer, support for our young people who might be struggling. Not like I'm going to start a nonprofit foundation, but maybe there's 5-10 kids in the neighborhood that because of this virtual learning took a few steps back in mathematics. Maybe I and maybe others can just come back and jump into that void, because again, I think our prosperity as Black people is going to rely on us jumping into that. So some of our folks are at the bottom of the well. Some of us are out of the well. Some of us are off into the world. But we got to go back and reach in and get into that well and pull people out and build them up so that they can live their fullest life. So this is kind of where I am right now. I don't know where it's going to take me, but God hasn't failed me yet. So I'm going to just keep, following this path.
That is awesome. That is a great answer. And we are so fortunate to have you. Our young people are so fortunate to have you. There's so few Black male teachers, sadly, in K-12 or any kind of system, frankly. And so for them to see you is really powerful, and I'm so grateful. And so that's it. Those 6 questions, and you were amazing.
Can I add one more? Thing?
Of course you can. Go ahead.
So the other thing that I wanted to sort of talk about a little bit, I am not a technologist. I am not, a science guy or anything like that. I'm I'm more like about economic mobility, but I feel that it's very important for our folks, just all people, to realize like we are in the 21st century. You know, this is the information age. Technology is radically transforming our lives right in front of our eyes. And if we as a people do not embrace science, technology, engineering, mathematics, the arts, culture, history, like when I say embrace it, I mean like we need to become expert in these spaces. The world is going to accelerate at a pace that you may not be able to catch up. This is not one of those. We're literally living in a moment where there's a fundamental paradigm shift in the way that people live, worship, communicate, travel, learn. And if we're late to the party, we'll be even further behind and have even more work to do if we don't get with where we are and the opportunities that exist in the 21st century. So I am always sort of barking at people like, hey, man, listen, no matter how difficult things are, we're much better off if we educate ourselves, if we keep our money in the tribe, right? And we take advantage of technology and use it to our advantage. So I just hope that we can just be full citizens in the 21st century and not folks that are left by the roadside by design.
Amen. Ashe. Amen. Yeah. Yes. Well, Barry, that was amazing. And thank you so much for answering those questions and being with us here today on King Crush Thursday. I just have to tell you, I am so grateful for who you are in this world. I'm fortunate enough to been able to work with you. And, I remember when I first met you and I was looking for board members when I was an executive director, and you were like, you were not feeling it. I kept talking. You're like, I'm just more into building up the community. I was like, well, let me show you how you can build up the community with us. And I'm so grateful you said yes. So
He's like, you're not going anywhere.
Nowhere.
I don't know. Yeah, you don't play those type of games. Just like
That's right. And I'm so grateful. And I have to tell you that it's funny. You mentioned his name. I'm not going to say which name it was, but there's a young man that you worked with that came from my community that you met through the organization Art Sanctuary. He was one of our interns. Yep. And, you taught him about work ethic. And you said from the very beginning, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. He's quiet. He's a good kid. He just needs some, shaping up. Yep. Well, I'll tell you, that good kid is graduating from high school with straight A's.
Oh my goodness.
He is amazing. And he ended up having to be homeschooled for most of the year because of the random violence that happens.
Sure.
He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But he didn't let that stop him. Yeah. And he's still he's graduating with straight A's, and he has a bright future. Yeah. And what I believe he has a bright future is because he was intersected with you at a time that was critical in his life. And I just wanted to let you know that and to thank you for who you are and for all, on behalf of all those young people. Oftentimes we don't know. Oftentimes we don't know when it's happening to us how important the issue or the moment is, or the person in our life is. And so on their behalf, they will hopefully, God willing, one day realize it. But if they don't know it now, I'm just going to say thank you on their behalf, on the behalf of our community, for being who you are, for stepping up, for changing your life in a way that is miraculous and really giving to our community. So I just honor you, my king, and thank you.
I'll give you a virtual hug.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So thank you so much again. And thank you for joining us for another King Crush Thursday. Please stay with us for our next episode where we will indeed honor and uplift another king. If you have a king in your life, or you know someone who should be uplifted and we should profile and find out what their answers to these 6 questions are, please just hit me in the link below or DM me, and we will get the information to you so we can profile that king. And so in the meantime, please remember to spread love and have a great day. Bye. Okay, thank you, Barry.
That was awesome.
Thank you.